Welcome to Locales Unknown. This podcast gives you the tools you need to choose your next travel destination and the tips you want to be able to explore like a local. Here are your hosts, Chris and Winfield.
Welcome back to another episode of Locales Unknown. And today we are going to be doing something a little bit different. Chris and I are going to recount our time down in Brazil with my wife, Viviani, as well. We had a great trip together. We were traveling around the country for almost 2 weeks. And I know I was a little bit biased from the start, Chris, in terms of Brazil and all of its wiles and it's something different around every corner. But hopefully you enjoyed it, and hopefully you could see what I meant by my initial statement when you touched down.
For years, Winfield, you've been talking about how much you love Brazil, the allure of the place, just the magic that's in the air and the culture. And I thought, okay, well, his wife's Brazilian. Maybe he's playing this up a little bit. But I got to say, after I took my final flight out of Sao Paulo, heading back home, I immediately missed it and I got it. I understood. Now, during the 2 weeks, man, what a whirlwind trip. We spent almost 14 days traversing the country, doing everything under the sun, trying to really jam pack the trip to get as much experience and just overall exposure to Brazil. So we started this journey up in Manaus as we did a couple of days in the Amazon rainforest, which we'll get into. But even on my way down, I had an awesome experience. I went from Orlando, Florida, with a layover in Mexico City for just under 24 hours. And man, what an amazing time. So I know that not a lot of people know too much about Mexico City. Most of the time when we are thinking vacation in Mexico, we're thinking somewhere in the Yucatan. But Mexico City was it was something special. I turned off my phone. I wandered the city with no destination in mind to just really get the full exposure. And I loved it. I felt safe. I felt secure, loved. I could just feel the passion in the air. And it was definitely an amazing start to the trip. And then after that great day layover, I made my way down to Sao Paulo for a quick layover and then up to Manaus, where the journey truly began. Winfield and Vivi met me the next day. We got an Airbnb together in Manaus, and we were able to walk the streets and try to just organize our trip. Now, I know I'm not the only one to have a little bit of reservations and nervous excitement for the Amazon rainforest trip to come, because we were about to sleep in the jungle. We're going to say that again. We were going to sleep in the Amazon rainforest. So we saw some pictures of the very, let's call it, primitive camping style. And I was excited, but I was wondering, are we going to see a 30-foot snake just hanging out right next to us? I don't know. But that was a couple days away. And of course, we wanted to make sure that we got the best use out of every single day. So during a nice little catch-up session, because Winfield and I and Vivi haven't seen each other since April, we decided to, how do we want to put this? Sample the local drinks. Can we say that? In Manaus. Some cachaças, some caipirinhas, and maybe more than some. So that was awesome. And then the following day, we met an amazing tour guide, because we went all over the city of Manaus trying to figure out how can we go ahead and book something cool. So we wanted to see the pink dolphins. And if you guys aren't familiar, there's a species of dolphin that only exists in the Amazon rainforest in the Brazil region. And they're pink, they're native to the area, and I think they're an endangered species if I'm not mistaken. But either way, definitely a highlight. And then also there is a point where the Rio Negro meets the Amazon River. And I'm sure Winfield will get into more detail about this, but the two do not blend together. It's literally a black and white difference. It's awesome. We're going to throw up some pictures for you guys so you can see what we're talking about. So we managed to land this awesome tour, and included in that, we were able to get a little bit of exposure to a native tribe to the Amazon right on the banks of the river. Really cool. And we spent the day doing that leading up to the Amazon rainforest. So Winfield, what was your favorite part of that first day? Whether it be the Dolphins, which I know you were excited about, the meeting of the rivers, or the tribe?
Wow, the first day was a whirlwind, and as you said, every experience was great in its own right. Also, the floating village.
Mhm.
We the first one with the dolphins, I was a little bit nervous, just because they are wild animals, and they once they've been fed, they come back for more. Very loving creatures, I must admit, but they have razor sharp teeth. So I wanted to make sure that we were on the safer side of that, as the nearest hospital was a good 60 kilometers out. So
Well, I think it's important also to mention that this was right in a lake off the Rio Negro. Now, when I say lake, I'm doing air quotes here because there's no full body of land around this to enclose the lake. It's just a little outlet of the Rio Negro, and that translates as the Black River, and they're not exaggerating. So we were standing on this platform, maybe what, like 3 feet deep of water, 4 feet deep, I don't know, but you
mhm.
look down and you cannot even see your knees. That's how dark it was. And all of a sudden you get a little poke and prod from this big rubbery thing, and you're wondering, well, what in the world is that? And you look down and see a little shade of pink. So it's understandable why there's a little bit of hesitation jumping in that water, but of course we had to do it.
Exactly. So Chris led the plunge on that one, but I eventually did it, making sure that I didn't jump directly onto a dolphin, so that I was thereby saved from that fate. But also, we can't forget, when we were there was a pirarucu farm, and this is the largest freshwater fish in the world. Let me repeat that: in the world. There's only a specific season during which they can be caught, but these fish were not part of a huge agricultural farm. They were living in their native water. They weren't being fed agrotoxins or anything of that nature. But we're going to throw this up at some point. But just putting a piece of fish over the water in which they lurk, I guess is the best verb. This thing attacks like something like a bull out of a china shop. It was intense. And once they feel the tug on the other end of the line, they fight back. They think, in terms of, this is what we were explained was explained to us by our guide Luis. Shout out to Luis. Uh, that once they feel the strength of that tug, they fight back, and they think, "Oh, you think you're strong? Well, let's find out." And I almost fell over because I kept going backwards. Chris has this on video, which is a great one. But this was an intense animal. And then after that, we went over to the Tatuyu tribe, which is 65 kilometers from Manaus, and it was great because we, uh, we met them, and we spent some quality time with them. They're It's very evident that they still practice their traditions. They gave us an overview of what life is like there, and we met and interacted with them. We fired off some blow darts, which was a lot of fun. I know Chris
That's
enjoyed
right.
that as much as I did. And we just had a really great, wholesome time with them, and got some insights into what it's like to live in the forest in this modern era, which is really hard to believe in some respects, considering how much we're connected in our world, to see the guardians of the forest maintaining a parallel universe.
Yeah, we also got to sample some of their local cuisine that they hunted and killed themselves. So they were, how do we want to say this, roasting over an open fire a caiman, and they were utilizing every single piece. We're talking about the entire alligator plus the head that they utilized, the pelt as well. I mean, nothing goes to waste. So I know we say this a lot on the show, where some things might be humbling or it's an unique perspective. But Winfield and I were standing in this village, just looking around, thinking that this is their daily life. They might have some visitors from time to time, but with COVID, that's all was also limited as well. And of course, we took all the precautions and we made sure that we stayed within the guidelines to protect these people just in case. But besides that, I mean, it's so simplistic, and you got to wonder, well, what is the daily life? Most of the men were out of the village at that time because they were hunting, and then most of the women were with the children. So traditional roles there, and just seeing how everything was still intact as far as culturally goes within this tribe. Although just what was it, 65 kilometers or 35 kilometers down the river is a bustling city of Manaus. So it was a real interesting perspective to see that. Amazing people. Thank you again, Luis, for taking us there. And that wasn't even the end of the day. Guys, we're not even on day 2 yet of this whole Brazilian adventure. So then we make our way down by boat. We cross past Manaus and we make it to where the Rio Negro meets the Amazon River. And I kind of gave a little insight into that in the beginning, but Winfield has all of the facts on this. So I'm not going to go any further. I'm going to let him take it from here as far as what we were able to see.
Definitely. Well, first we made a quick stop in the floating village, and this might be the scariest bathroom I've ever seen anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
Luis said, "Be careful of the snake when you go in there," and it's literally just a hole in this wooden floating houseboat, and I had stage fright. I'll just put it that way. So we survived that. Also, check us out when we do some of our spotted actions. We have something in store in that village there. So if you find it, let us know. But getting back to the main attraction of the meeting of the rivers. So yes, the Rio Negro has a pH of 4. And normally pH acidity levels are at about 8, 8.5. So that means that mosquitoes cannot survive due to the low acidity. And that's also what makes the color completely different. When you cross over into the Amazon, you actually can put your hand in the water and you will feel a noticeable difference in the temperature. The pH in the Amazon is much higher. It's right around that 8, 8.5 mark. As a result, the mosquitoes are voracious. Fortunately, they weren't hanging out right in where we were. It was a quick stop, but just to take stock of it and to see it as the sun was going down was definitely one of my highlights of the trip. I know, Chris, you felt the same way. It just felt like you were a fly on the wall in the middle of this beautiful natural experience.
Yeah, it was incredible. I mean, it was a full day of unique experiences. All of them were different. And this was only day 1. I mean, we're spending a good 20 minutes just recapping our first day, but that's how much it really meant to us. And it was a great start to the trip. And then after that whole experience, we made our way back to Manaus by boat. We said goodbye to Luis, hopefully to see him again. And then we started focusing our attention on prepping for the Amazon. So we bought into a group, and this was led by Ericles, our guide. So shout out to Ericles. And we wanted to make sure that we were able to connect with him the night before just to learn a little bit more about what we were in store for. So we knew there was going to be some mountain biking, some hiking, some kayaking, some crazy jungle camping, but we didn't really know the logistics behind things. So we met up with Ericles that night, and he kind of shed some light on what we were going to do. We were going to meet up the next morning. We were going to gather together. And the majority of the trip would have a little bit of a tether of that truck. So for people out there thinking that we took our machetes and chopped our way into the middle of the bush, well, that's not what happened at all. We were able to utilize a truck the whole time that pulled the supplies, including canoes and mountain bikes, but it was still incredible. So we woke up the next morning. Ericles picked us up from our Airbnb right in the center of Manaus. Great city, by the way. I love the town center. Beautiful. We got to see it during Christmas time, festivals going on. But anyway, we made our way out of town towards Presidente Figueiredo and went to a small farm where Ericles just pulled in and said, okay, everybody out. Took the mountain bikes off the truck and then just said, follow me. So this was when our adventure began. We started going, I think it was about 5K each way, just mountain biking, pretty steep inclines. Pretty dangerous, ascents and descents. And then finally we got to a point where we couldn't take our bikes any further to get to this one waterfall. So we put them away and then started on foot. So another maybe about 1K, 2Ks down, we reached an incredible waterfall. We'll have a picture of that up on our Instagram. It was so remote, so secluded. And, Winfield asked me a couple times if I'm a souvenir guy for the family. And I said, no, what I do is I'll collect rocks from the locations that I go, maybe Mount Everest Base Camp or Machu Picchu or the Amazon rainforest. And this is where I was able to collect those rocks because there was no other way to get there than hoofing it on foot or on bike. So absolutely beautiful. First of many gorgeous sights. Then we made our way to an awesome lookout point, which really put in perspective where we were. So this was about 150 feet up, just a small precipice overlooking the canopy of the rainforest. And it was incredibly interesting. I mean, I know that was truly when Winfield and I both realized where we were, what we were doing, and maybe how crazy we were to even be there. But then from there, remind me, Winfield, we made our way back, and then I think we headed out to camp. Is that right?
Yes, but prior to that mountain biking excursion, we did that quick hike with to the cave, and this kind of really laid the foundation because we had a guide, and he started telling us all about the different trees in the forest, what they do, how people live with nature, and how they use nature to communicate in terms of whether if you're in trouble, you knock on this tree. If you need a quick pick-me-up vitamin-wise, you use this tree or this fruit. And all of a sudden, we just stumbled upon this waterfall that was coming through a cave. And I know my breath was taken away, Chris and Vivi as well. We were all just really impressed. And that was just the first one. There was another one after that was even more impressive. And but yes, going back to what you were saying, Chris, we after the second waterfall where we went to by bike, we came back to camp, and camp was we didn't know what to expect. I know for me, prior to commencing this journey, I did not sleep at all the night before. Everything was running through my mind. What am I going to see? What is Chris going to do kung fu on? What's going to happen that is going to be one of those Indiana Jones plot lines without the hat? And
although you brought the hat, you did bring the
right,
hat.
Exactly. I donned the mosquito hat, which based on our previous conversation was not needed, but it had a good dramatic effect. But anyway, so yes, in camp we set up our hammocks, and we were right by this river. And of course, being the intrepid travelers that we are, we had to ask for a jungle night trek, which was something that I know was high on my list. And we had to cross this free-flowing river, which was a very strong current, just to get to the other side. So what did you think about that trek, Chris? Were you, and I know we were both on high alert, as was Vivi and Eric's as well.
Yeah, it was completely unexpected too. So, going back to that orientation before we ventured out the night before, usually you can kind of understand, okay, we're going to go and do this, 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 and this. So there's going to be some room left for the unexpected, but something like a night trek through the jungle, that's a little bit out there. But why not? So after we made our way across this river, where we were literally making sure that our cell phones were down, our head torches were just lighting up our way because it was so slippery on these rocks, we make it to the other side, and then we just kind of wander through this very unknown place, at least to me, right across from our campsite. And then our adventurous guide decides to look under every rock and in every cave. So why not? Of course, we're going to follow him, right? He's our guide. So we just go and explore this area. We come upon this cave where the entrance was so small. I think it was maybe 4 feet tall or 3 feet tall. So we have to duck under, crawl into this thing, and we're wandering around. And that's when Ericles drops the bomb. Oh man, I've never been in here. We're like, what? This is your first time adventuring in. So of course, like Winfield was saying the night before, sleep was not really an option. Shout out to my sister Danielle. She sent me this GIF on WhatsApp of a giant anaconda that bumps into this canoe. I think it was in Honduras, but this thing was massive. I'm sure you guys have seen it out there. And I'm just thinking, this is my future right here. I can't wait, but at the same time, I better start getting my things in order because I thought this was going to be the end. So fast forward to when we're in this cave, I'm like, yep, this is it. This is the time. Fortunately, we made it through, and then we just start going in the woods. We got a little bit lost, if you remember, Winfield. Eric Keys kind of looks around a couple times, wondering, okay, is it this way, that way? But we're having so much fun, and we're living in the moment and just enjoying and, hoping for the best. And then we make our way back to camp across the river and set up for the night. So we're sleeping in these hammocks with the mosquito net over us. We're on the outskirts of a small farm. So there's these little dogs running around too. And they definitely replace the normal roosters that keep me awake at night when we're on the trails, and these things were barking all night, although they were really cute. I'm a big dog lover, but come on, we need our sleep, right? But waking up the next morning, good to go, ready for day 2. And then we venture out of camp after a quick breakfast and getting everything ready and make our way to another mountain bike adventure. So this one was a little bit different than the first day. So let's remind everyone that we're in the Amazon rainforest, right? And up until this point, yes, the last time I felt what dry was like was before our first hike down to those caves and waterfalls. But when we made our way down to Christmas Falls, first of all, it was incredible. Beautiful ride, nice weather, a lot of fun. Christmas Falls, Google it, guys. It is amazing. We'll throw up some pictures as well. Beautiful time there. To get there, we stopped at a small property at the foothill, on our way to the falls itself. Really cool guy. It seemed like his own farm there. Just put the bikes down, got to regroup and then head down. But when we made our way back up was when the adventure really started. And I want Winfield to talk about this because he had the front row seat to most of it.
So yes, exactly. First of all, as Chris said, Christmas Falls is absolutely spectacular. And when we were there, the water flow was about 50 times what it normally is.
That's what they were saying. Yeah,
there was just so much rain. We were just making our way along these wet, slippery rocks. We knew that one slip in is death, probably, because you would just be swept down this in this raging current.
Yeah, so a good way to put it is usually when he takes people down to Christmas Falls, you can go in, you can swim right next to the falls, you can jump around, do whatever you want. But because of the current, when we were there, we had to stay on the very edge, or else, like Winfield was saying, you're just going to go all the way back probably to Manaus if you get caught in there.
Exactly. And we also, when we were down there, we saw these monkeys that were jumping from tree to tree. That was our first real encounter with nature, in the sense that we saw them up close. They didn't care about us. They were just off to their next tree. But that was really cool. So basically, to get to this location, you have to go down a very steep hill on the way in. So that's no problem. Of course, you're coasting, you're having fun. On the way back, a little bit different story. It's uphill for, what would you say, Chris? 3 kilometers, probably, something
if not more. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and it was pretty. And of course, keep in mind that it had been raining a lot, so it was like a slip and slide. There were pieces of wood that were covering these holes to be able to move cars through there and bikes. But man, I remember getting the bikes a couple times, the tire just in between these planks of wood, let alone getting actual vehicles down there. So as soon as I start going back, we just attempted to dry off and get going again. my bike breaks. And so I think to myself, oh, great. How's this going to work out? And so Eric, he's did a really great job. He patched it up to a point, and I thought that it would be functioning at that time. I just walked the bike back up the hill. In the meantime, we come across somebody who gets stuck in the mud, so we help push them out. And in turn, fortunately, they get out. But it was like being back in high school in terms of getting through mud holes. It was interesting. Anyway, in the meantime, there's a huge downpour, just torrential rain starts. My bike is not functioning. Eric Keys hops on the bike for a while, just kind of coasts. He tries to pull me. That doesn't work out too well. We try everything under the sun, and we're thinking, what can we do to get back to camp, or not camp, but where we started the fastest? So we all take turns. Chris runs with the bike. I run with the bike in the final stretch. Eric Keys was great. He was just motivating everybody, supporting us the whole time. Vivi did a great job. In the meantime, we were also carrying this bag, which broke on one side. And on the way in, these dogs just came up and started pulling on the bag. They almost pulled me off the bike because they wanted a piece of the action, it seems like. So in any case, we make it all the way back, completely drenched, exhausted, feels like a workout, something out of a movie. And just in terms of getting back, it was quite a marathon. But we made it, soaked. We dried off pretty quickly. And then from there, Chris, we went to our next venture, which I did not know what to expect at all. So why don't you take it away?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think you can understand or really put it into perspective the amount of rain that came down at the worst possible time. I mean, it was bad enough that we were all the way down at the falls and there was only one way of getting back to the truck, which was our final destination. That was by bike, no matter what. But then this deluge comes our way and we're reminded that we're in the middle of nowhere and you just got to bite the bullet and go with it. So it added a different layer of adventure for us. Thought it was pretty cool. Definitely forgot what it felt like to be dry, but that's okay. So like Winfield was saying, we got back up to the truck and then we made our way actually into town for a quick lunch stopover and then back out of town towards our next adventure being kayaking. So this was really cool. I mean, I didn't know what to expect either. I've been kayaking. Winfield and I went kayaking with Vivi in Florida. I've been kayaking in various other places, but this was unique. I mean, we're in the Amazon. We're going down a river that's not very populated. So I was thinking, okay, going back to that gift my sister sent. This is it. This is my time. So we get in, we pack everything up, and I've got to love Eric Keys. His canoe was filled to the brim. He's bringing everything for our entire camp. So a full 24 hours out and about within his canoe, and he's navigating down the river. So pretty cool. Vivi has her own kayak. I have mine. Winfield has his, and we just make our way out. So after we kind of disappear from the launch point, everything just goes quiet. And that was just incredible. It was us and nature. Maybe 2 or 3 times we had a boat come by, and by boat, it's very small, little hand motor type thing. And they're just racing by doing their own thing. Other than that, peaceful, calm waters. You hear birds, you hear some animals in the distance, and you're just floating down this oasis of jungle oasis, I guess I can call it. And there's no rush. Time slows down. I know Winfield and I were kind of in the back. Vivi and Eric Keys were making their way, doing their thing, and Winfield and I were barely even paddling, a stroke here, stroke there, just to keep the momentum going. But the river had such a current as well that we were just kind of going one way or another, and we're taking in the sights. Now, I don't know about you, Winfield, but my head was on a swivel for the big snake and the cool animals. So I hear a branch break. All of a sudden, I'm looking left, I'm looking right, I'm turning my canoe around or kayak around. I'm like, what is that? But that was truly an incredible experience. I would say that was definitely a highlight. just to be out there in a remote location in nature, to truly feel what it's like to be in the Amazon without, in the distance, a city or honking horns or music or anything like that. That's what I was looking forward to.
Exactly. And I think you hit it on the nail on the head there, Chris, in terms of this is a river that's another thing too that I wasn't aware of at the time. There's so many rivers within the Amazon. It's not just the Amazon. So we were on the Urubu, but there's
Yep.
also the Urubi. Subtle distinction there, but this, as Chris mentioned, absolutely fantastic. Once we got away from the launch point, we're just looking around, and we were definitely lollygagging back there. We weren't doing anything. We were just hanging out and letting the current take us. I remember at one point, Vivi said she saw a snake, saw its head pop up and right back down. And what was really confusing for me is that there were a lot of branches and submerged trees that looked like they had a lot of color to them. So I thought they were some kind of animal. And at one point, I thought I saw a multicolored snake in the water, just hanging out there. And I freaked out. Like my heart rate went through the roof. I thought, just as Chris said, this is the time the anaconda's going to come out and just eat us alive. Whatever it is, it's just it's coming for us. But that's also what made the journey so special. As the day before, we were just a fly on the wall. We were in another world, a parallel universe, whereby we were just observers, and that's what was awesome. We made it about 8 kilometers downstream, I think.
Yep.
And then we just pulled over and started setting up camp. We had great boatmen come by and pick up our kayaks. And then we made camp. We set up our hammocks in this kind of, how would you describe it, Chris? Sort of a peninsula, but it's just kind of a jettisoned beach. And we set the hammocks up, obviously off the ground. That's rule number 1 in the jungle. And from there, it was nightfall almost. It was pretty much dusk at that point. So of course we're thinking to ourselves, all right, what do we have what's in store for us now? This is probably the beginning of the end. And I remember thinking, because we asked Eric's, so what's in the water? Can we go bathe? Because of course at this point we were just drenched in every liquid substance possible. And and he said, what's in there? Barracudas, caimans, you name it. He said, oh, that's all in there. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, great. But I go for a quick rinse. I needed it. I just threw on my Brazilian sunga and went in there. I know Chris was a little bit more hesitant, but you went the next day, didn't you?
I did in the morning. I think I was okay with being disgusting. It's part of camping. It's part of trekking. And, at night, so we pulled into this little peninsula right at dusk. You were right. And then by the time we set everything up, just to put it in perspective, we had to finish setting up the last hammock just through our cell phone lights and our head torches. That's how dark it went. And we were in the middle of nowhere, guys. So there's nothing but moonlight out there. Eric, he started a small fire for dinner later on. So yeah, I was going to say I'm going to skip it. I'm not jumping in the water. It was freezing cold as well. And I'm not sure how clean you actually got with that water, but that's just me. And I was taking in the sights. I was enjoying the fact that this was the adventure that I signed up for right here. So the night before, maybe not so much. It was a little bit more domesticated of a campsite. And this was awesome. So I was just looking around, taking in the sights, listening to all of the nature around, and waiting for dinner because by that time I was starving. So Eric, he's set us all up with an amazing fish that night. We all just sat close around the fire. It was the only source of light that we had. And then enjoyed some dinner, got to talk and recap, the last couple of days together, talk about the next day and enjoy the night. I know at that point I made my way to my hammock, and you and Vivi decided to look at the stars for a while after we cleaned up, washing the dishes in the river, which was unique in and of itself. under nothing but a cell phone light. So that was cool. And then after a while, we all just kind of made our way to bed. Bed being these, hung hammocks with a mosquito net over. And I remember falling asleep for a couple of hours, and I don't even know why I woke up, but it felt like the middle of the night. And man, the jungle came alive in my mind. I kept hearing these breaches of out of the water, and Eric Keys, like Winfield mentioned, said that there were caimans in there. And if you're not familiar with caimans, these are alligators. These are deadly creatures. Of course, there's jaguars somewhere in the rainforest. There's these massive snakes we talk about. We're not even talking about all the poisonous snakes that are around, or the scorpions, or the spiders, and basically everything that moves will kill you. But then I start hearing, the breaches of the water. I hear branches cracking. I hear things falling on top of my mosquito net. And it's a good 2 hours where I'm like, this is it, man. Once again, your family was right. Why did you sign up for this? But on the flip side, I was like, this is amazing. I love this. It took me a while to finally understand the fact that, one, it's probably in my head. Two, there's nothing I can do about it. If there is this animal waiting for me, what am I going to do? So with that realization, I said, okay, I'm going to need some sleep anyway. So I fell asleep, and then the next morning woke up and continued the journey. So Winfield, I know you had a much better night than I did. You didn't wake up freaking out for a while, did you?
A little bit. Chris did not overstate that whatsoever. The jungle comes alive with its own symphony at night. And I mean, this is a cacophony of noises. Noises that I've never even heard, because normally when we think about camping, you'll hear some cicadas, a couple crickets, I don't know, some other random animals that are just around and foraging. But my goodness, I heard the splashing too. I remember I got up a couple times to use the bathroom, and I was really nervous just because I couldn't see anything that was on the floor because of course it's pitch black. So I'm thinking, oh my gosh, am I going to step on that poisonous snake and or that poisonous frog or whatever it may be? And that will be the end of days. But no, I did drift off finally. It's hard for me to sleep on my back, especially in those hammocks. I'm not used to that. But I actually slept fairly well, considering all of the noises around. And it was one of those things again where you feel as if you are in a totally different place. So it doesn't feel like you're on Earth because, of course, we're used to civilization. We're used to all of our creature comforts of the modern world, and this felt raw, completely as if we were doing something that was out of a movie. And as Chris said, we made it through the night. We had a great breakfast, and we went upriver back to where we came from, and we went to this our boatman's property, which was unique in and of itself. He pretty much had his own working farm. All kinds of animals were there, just kind of running around, and then we got to explore on his property, and basically he has, I don't remember exactly how many acres, but he has multiple waterfalls on his property that he just discovered completely randomly. And he still doesn't know the extent of the waterfalls on his property because it's that vast.
Yeah, I felt like over the course of the days, it kind of ramped up as far as the adventure level and how wild it got. So the first day we did the mountain biking, we were tethered to the truck. And, we went down, saw the waterfalls, came back. Next day, did the mountain biking, did some kayaking, then did the jungle camping. And then the final day that Winfield's describing here, when he says a farm, at least when I hear farm, I think of wide open space, maybe some cows roaming, some roosters, all of that. No, this was a jungle farm. So there was definitely some, open area towards the back, but it was mainly still within this bush. And then we made our way back, and we were the first people to be there in a couple weeks, due to COVID as well as other reasons. So this felt like we were trekking in the middle of the rainforest. Eric, he's bought his machete, had to cut the path a lot of the times, and we just kept going and going and going. Made our way to an amazing cave, and we described the cave during the night trek, and that was nothing compared to what we saw. So we had to shimmy our way through this little opening. And even on our way down there, Eric, he's told us, okay, we're coming up on the top of the cave. Just keep your voices down because we'll be able to see more once we get down there. I don't know about you, Winfield, but I didn't really know what he meant. I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll be quiet. I want to hear the jungle anyway. Uh, but by the time we got down there, then I realized we were going into the bat cave. It was crazy. So we shimmy our way through this, and there's a beautiful trickling waterfall right in the center. You only have one opening of light, and it's right directly on top of that waterfall as well. So it was just absolutely incredible. And then you get the other extra element of the fact that there's a bunch of bats flying right over your head. And when I mean right over, I mean you could almost feel the wind go by. That's how close they are to you. There's water all over the place. Again, it's pitch black. And I'm thinking, well, why are we doing this? You know, snakes love the dark. They love the cool environment. We're just going into their home. Okay, why not? I paid for this too. This is crazy. So that was awesome. Of course, we were drenched. You know, it was a beautiful time getting down there. It felt extremely wild, adventurous. We stayed there for a while, taking pictures, enjoying it. And then when we made our way out, we realized we were under another deluge. And of course, we didn't want to just trek right off the bat and go through the woods. So we kind of waited out. What would you say? Maybe like 20, 30 minutes, Winfield? Just kind of took our time. Finally, we got to the point where we said, okay, let's just go for it. You know, we're in the rainforest. We're already disgustingly dirty and uncomfortable. What's a little more water? So we made our way out, and then I at first thought we were going to make our way back, and that was it, and that was the highlight, and it was awesome. But instead of going right, which would have led back up to the farm in the boat, we made our way left, and we went to another waterfall, which was wide open, no cave, but it had these natural vines hanging down from the waterfall that we were able to use as a cool little rope swing. So we had a lot of fun there. We got a ton of pictures, which we'll definitely put up for you guys. And again, another highlight. And you know, the whole time I'm thinking that in and of itself, these locations are gorgeous, but the fact that you can only see them by trekking through the jungle to get there and risking that time, whether it be, you know, seeing something that you run into that's dangerous, or even if you trip, you're in the middle of nowhere. Who's going to help you? You know, if something happens, you're really doing this at your own risk. And the only way to be rewarded by of this waterfall or get the reward of the waterfall is to, you know, challenge yourself to get to there. So I loved it. And then you know, Winfield, you and Vivi had a great time on those swings as well, huh?
Indeed, yeah. Just going back to the Batcave, I felt like we were stepping into a Batman movie, into a vortex, because as you said, they were just flying everywhere, and I thought they were going to land or somehow snag us. So that was definitely the most nervous I think I was in the entire trip, just because they were so close, and just to see them kind of perched on the stone and doing their own thing, because that's, of course, that's their sleeping time during the day. But yeah, and as Chris said, we were on our hands and knees getting in and out of there. There was just a very small window. But yeah, going up back to the next waterfall, as you said, the rope swing was fantastic. I know a couple of times I ate it coming off of it, but it was great. We had so much fun, and as you said, that was really every day we just ramped it up to another level. And I don't know about you, Chris, but by the end of the trek, we made our way back to camp, and then we got on the boat. The boat didn't work, so that was another that was another something in and of itself. We were hanging out waiting if we had to paddle upstream or swim back to back against the current, mind you. But we came across this abandoned farm slash house that was unfortunately fell victim to a very devastating fire. And it was that point where Chris and I were just talking about, you know, this would be an amazing place to share with the outside world if there was something that that we could do in order for people to experience this in a safe and welcoming environment. So that really resonated with us. But the trip, like a lot of our adventures that we talk about here on Locales, it left you wanting more. When Eric Keys mentioned that 6-day kayak tour, where the deeper you get into the jungle, the more you see, where things just come up into camp in the middle of the night, and there's all kinds of unexpected twists and turns. I know for on my end, I definitely wanted to sign up for that right away, because that was just a preview in terms of what was next to come.
100%. I'm right there with you, where I wanted more as soon as we pulled back into the launch point where the truck was. And, I was a little bit conflicted about how much did I truly enjoy the trip. This is the first time that I've done an adventure like this where we were tethered to a truck and we had to still drive from place to place. It almost broke it up to the sense where it felt like individual day trips rather than, okay, you get dropped off day one, see you in 3 days, hope you survive, and then you're rewarded with some running water and an actual shower so you don't stink anymore. So it was different, but in hindsight, looking back and being able to share these experiences with everyone right now, it truly was an adventure in and of itself. And I would 100% do it again. Highly recommend Eric Keys. It's raw, it's rugged. You can definitely get that sense of not only the Amazon but of adventure by sleeping in the jungle that second night. But I'm with you, Winfield. That 6-day kayaking trip just sounds so much better. I would absolutely love it. Eric Keys did say that you'll see a lot more wildlife as you go further and further out. And we haven't really touched upon this. We're alluding to all of these fears of possibly running into anything, but we didn't see anything dangerous in the Amazon. So let me repeat that for anyone wondering, oh my God, am I going to run into a leopard or a giant anaconda? Now, I'm not an expert. I can't say no. They're definitely out there. But I saw more butterflies than I did anything else. So, maybe it's a gentle jungle after all. Who knows? Love the experience. I would highly, highly recommend it, guys. And I know we started this podcast by saying that we're going to cover our entire Brazilian trip, but we're coming up on 45 minutes here. And I think, Winfield, we should possibly just do this portion about the Amazon and then cover the rest of the trip in another episode. What do you think?
I think you're exactly right. As you said, this was just an overview of 3 days, and it was a jam-packed 3 days. It felt like we were doing something every minute. But as we've said, the zeal and the zest for adventure just ramped up continuously, and it really brought us back to the fact that, yes, this is the largest forest. This is a massive jungle, all of those superlatives. But at the same time, you can survive and live in it and be one with nature, and have that experience where you're just touching on it as we did, which is a very brief overview. Or you can do the 6-day or the 10-day, or do these treks where you're just hacking with machetes. There's a huge range of options, and there's something for everybody, whether your level of adventure is lower or higher. It doesn't matter. You will absolutely love the Amazon, everything that it has to offer. And it's something, as I said, that you don't necessarily think about when you're going there to start. There's multiple rivers. There's there's some cities. There's a couple roads. There are all of these things that you don't see from the outside. But just like any region, any trip, the more you get into it, you just peel back another layer of the metaphorical onion. So yeah, this is a tough one to follow up with the rest of our trip, Chris. But we definitely threw you in the deep end to start the trip. Looking forward to hearing your insights on the next stages on our next episode.
It only gets better from here. So this was by far the most adventurous element of the trip, although hang gliding in Rio was up there as well. And that's to come in the next episode. But great experience right off the bat, hit the ground running. If I could make one suggestion to anyone thinking of doing the trip, bring socks. Bring a lot of socks. Trust me, you're going to need it. You're going to want it, and you're going to thank me one day. So this is going to conclude our Amazon wrap up. Of course, after we finished up the trek, we got back to Manaus. We got a quick hotel room where we were able to actually shower, get that filth off of us, go to a nice dinner, celebrate with Eric Keys. And then from there, we took our overnight flight to Rio. And that's where we'll pick up in the next episode, guys. Until then, thank you. Highly recommend the Amazon, and we will recap the rest of our Brazil adventure with you guys pretty soon.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to another episode with us. We started this podcast in the hopes of shedding some light on the various destinations out there in the world that might be more off the beaten path. And we're hoping we're accomplishing that goal by bringing on our friends and our various guests to give us some insight about their various locations and what to do in the areas. So if you like what you hear, make sure that you follow us on all the podcast platforms as well as the social media platforms out there, because we're back every single week. I wouldn't want you to miss what we have coming up. We already have a couple great guests in the pipeline that we are very excited for, and I think you guys will be too. So we are on Apple Podcasts, we're on Spotify, we're on Google Podcasts, we're on all the other platforms. Locales Unknown. Go ahead and hit the search. When you find us, be sure to hit the follow or subscribe button. And if you're an Apple Podcast user out there, please let us know how we're doing. We're building this for you guys. So scroll down to the bottom of Apple Podcasts and go ahead and leave us a review and maybe some comments there. Also on social media, we are very active on Instagram, on TikTok, on Facebook. We have our YouTube channel, so feel free to go ahead and drop us a line. We have our website, localesunknown.com. You can find all of our episodes there. And if you want to reach us directly, we have our email address, contact@localesunknown.com. Maybe you have some suggestions for us. Maybe you want to introduce us to someone that you think might be a great fit for the show. We are all ears. So once again, thank you so much for listening. We'll be right back here next week with another great episode somewhere out there in the world. Stay tuned.